Welcome to Coach Chloe, the journey of self love, episode 14. Today is How to Act Your Thoughts, and it's part four. As promised, we have really great minds lined up for you who are sharing how they hack their thoughts. Do you know that on any given day, we have recurring thoughts of about 60 to 80,000? The more we think about the same thing over and over again, the more that thought is solidified in our thinking. Um, so the more you begin to believe it, the more we look for evidence to validate what we believe. All this thinking happens in our self talk. What are your thoughts? These are your private conversations that you have with yourselves. We all have these conversations all day long. And today in the hot seat, we have someone that's really special to me, Dr. Eubulus Timothy. You will notice that we share the same name. That's because he truly is my brother, joining in all the way from South Africa, and he will be sharing ways he hacks his thought. So let's get into Eubulus's mind. Stay right there. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. Really excited again to let you know that my brother Eubulus Timothy is on the show with me today. Welcome, Eubulus.
Hello, Chloe. How are you? And thank you for allowing me to be on your show.
It's amazing to have you on my show, and I know it's very early in the morning where you are, and you dragged yourself out of bed just to be on the show with me. So thank you.
No, you're
I've
welcome.
known Eubulus. Well, he's known me all my life,
That's
and
true.
we know each other so well. But do we know each other's thoughts? We spent hours and hours and hours together, but do we really know each other's thoughts?
Well, that's a very interesting question, isn't it? Do we
Yeah,
really do?
yeah, do we? And we no matter how many hours and years we spend with someone, do we know each other's thoughts? What's going, those private conversations that only we have. And so I'm excited to hear, how you hack your thoughts, and I'm sure everybody listening in would love to know how you hack your thoughts, especially when those thoughts are self-defeating, or when there's negative thoughts. How do you hack that to so you're pivoting to a place where your thoughts are serving you? um, and here's my first question to you. When silence is golden and when silence is precious, what are you saying to yourself?
Don't interrupt the silence. That's the first thing I've learned is that when it's golden and it's wonderful and you're in this place of of peace, don't interrupt it. Uh, I let it consume me. I let myself fall into it and absorb it. Uh, because when in that silence you breathe inner peace, you
Hmm.
are able to access your inner peace,
Hmm.
especially when it's golden,
Yeah.
and that's very, very rarely because we are, like you said, 60 thousand to 880,000 thoughts are going through our mind every second. But that's in the conscious, but in the subconscious it's millions and millions of thoughts that are going through our mind in that same second that we are not aware of. And so when we're in that golden place, it's important just to be
Mhm. Yeah.
and become
I
aware of yourself.
Yeah, I love what you said when I first asked the question. It just caught my attention. Don't interrupt the silence,
Yes.
and just fall into it. That is really a true piece of wisdom right there. How often we interrupt the silence because we're not comfortable being in the silence. It's as though, where's the noise? Bring on the noise. So we so used to just having noise that it becomes deafening.
Mm.
So when silence is deafening, what are you saying to yourself then?
Let's start again. It's always important. Let's look from another perspective. You look at an apple. If you hold a apple in your hand and you look at it, uh, one side is most of it's absolutely smooth, but the other side has got a little tail on it, and the other side's got a little dimple on it. But it's still an apple. It doesn't change the taste of it. It's how you look at it. I always believe in axial tilt. And our
Mhm,
axial tilt is the tilt of the Earth at 24.5 degrees to the North Star. Because of that axial tilt, we have all the different seasons. We're not a barren planet, and we have a planet that's habitable. And that's the same for us in our lives. If we start looking at our lives at an axial tilt of 24.5 degrees, we see it differently. And
mhm,
when the noise is so loud, you need to start again. You
mhm,
need to take it from another perspective.
mhm,
You need to stop.
mhm. And how do you get to stop? When it's so deafening, how do you get to stop?
We always talk about, it's very difficult when everything is so much. Just breathe
Mm,
in slowly.
yeah,
And and sometimes we are so busy with our eyes shut that we forget to actually open it to see what's happening.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. Our eyes are may not be shut physically, but it really is shut because we cannot see anything else besides what's in front of us. And I also like what you talked about, just looking at different perspectives, how we look at it. If you take an apple,
Mm.
all the sides, where whatever it is, whatever angle, it's
Mm.
still an apple. But which angle are you looking at it from? Really powerful there. Um, what are negative thoughts that go through your mind when there is noise?
Well, you have happy noise and you have sad noise and you have negative noises.
Mm,
And we always have, when things go wrong, when things are not what we want it to be, we've been through a process that we never ever thought possible in the last 4 years. And our minds were full of negative thoughts. Will we ever
mhm,
get out of it? Will we survive? And so, how do you cope with all this negativity? Is that, and when you see there's no way in, or maybe there's no way out, and there's no way around it, there's blockages, and finding resolution is like almost impossible.
mm,
How do we do it? Can we extend that process? Do we make it longer and sometimes more anxiety develops in our lives,
yeah.
or even worse, depression? And we know that after the last 4 years, depression, anxiety, fear, and even suicide has gone up in the world, and
Mm,
we can't stop the process.
mm,
We've got to learn to say, you know, doesn't matter what is happening now. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I remember as a kid, we learned, always remember there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But then a realist will say, what about the next tunnel coming?
mhm,
And so we start looking ahead. How do we overcome now? By looking forward. Sometimes we got our head down so much that we do not look up to see the clouds. And
mhm,
clouds are amazing because when you look up to the sky and you see clouds, it actually gives infinity definition.
mhm.
And it shows us, there's the clouds, but beyond the clouds, there's sunshine.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I like the analogies, the clouds, the apple. Those are you making it real. You bringing it home. Um, Something that you talked about right now was, the light at the end of the tunnel. We've heard about that,
Mm.
but we keep our heads down.
Yes.
We keep our heads down with negativity and being able to lift our heads up so that we can see. We can see and also, clouds. behind all the clouds, there is infinity, and the sun, the song
Mhm.
from Annie.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the sun will come out tomorrow. Bet
I
your bottom
always
dollar.
I always say that you have your cell phone has a camera attached, and that's the most amazing thing. Uh, when you are in that space, take your camera out and take pictures of the clouds.
Mhm.
Take pictures of the clouds, and you'll be surprised how beautiful they look. And the one reason for doing that is that you're not looking down now, you're looking up.
Yeah.
It's a physical thing that you're looking up to the sky. And by doing that, you're actually changing your perspective. And now you're concentrating on taking this picture of a cloud. Uh, and then you see the perspective, because just beyond that cloud, you see that little blue light, and then that's where it is. That's where I need to be. And it's amazing how, in spite of everything, by looking up, your perspective changes.
Mhm. Yeah. In spite of everything, look up. In spite of everything, look up. Um, have you had a time when you had to hack positive thoughts? So, negative thoughts, we know they cloud our minds with negativity bias. We always have, we thinking negative thoughts. What's going wrong? How do we manage that? But sometimes when we think too positively, that can also be, derail us. So, have you had
Yeah.
any experiences like that?
All the time. And that my mind never stops. It's always working and always looking at things. And then sometimes you're doing something, or you're doing some research, or you're trying to create something, or you just created something, and it's so amazing, and you're all caught up in it, especially like if you play a piece of music, I'm working on a scene, or I'm working at my practice, and I'm doing some research at the moment, and you get a breakthrough, and then you get so euphoric that you got to now calm down. Oh my goodness, I can't breathe. I've got to, again, even in your positivity,
Hmm.
breathe in
Yeah.
and allow yourself to now absorb that. Like you
Mhm.
allow the negativity to understand your negativity, you have to understand the positivity as well. It's all emotions, and what we are learning now with neurology, neuroscience is so amazing in this last couple of decades that we have a great understanding. We create our own emotions
Mhm.
based on our experiences. And how do we now hack into them? How do we break into them to control them? It's very difficult because it overrides us. And a lot of the time, our emotions are there to protect us, especially pain.
Mhm.
And, and we create everything. We have this synthesizing system of creating, a situation so that we can protect ourselves at all times
Mhm.
at the subconscious level.
Yeah. You talked about creating our emotions out of our experiences. For the sake of those listening, say more about how they can create emotions if they're in a negative place. How can they create emotions and create an experience where they are shifting their emotions?
Well, a lot of the time, when negativity is based on fear,
Mm,
that fear that something can go wrong, and sometimes it's very, very real, and sometimes it's not. And we cannot say that, well, this is not real, and this is because it is real. We are
mhm,
experiencing it. We're experiencing the fear, the anxiety, the pressure of life, or just being. And we don't know, uh, we don't walk in other people's footsteps, so we don't know what they're experiencing.
mm,
But those negative feelings are real, and we are experiencing it, and we have to understand that we have to think about it and say, okay, let me break this down now. Let me try and think, where is it coming from? Is it coming from something from my childhood? They always say a lot of the stuff comes from childhood. Or is it coming from just the experience I had? Or is it coming from just the situation around me right now. And so I have the situation of not knowing where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens a lot of the time. We can be brilliant at what we do. We can be the best in in our business or in our families, but at times we get lost.
Mm.
And we need to understand where is it coming from. And the fear is one of the greatest problems that we have as
Mm.
modern society.
Mm. Yeah. That's really powerful. The fear of fear, because we fear fear. That is
Yeah.
true. Um, a moment ago, you talked about thousands of thoughts. Now, you, my brother, I know what your mind, that part of you, I know very well about the thousands and thousands of positive thoughts and the dreams that you have. You are always full of dreams. And you make every effort, knowing you make every effort to make those dreams come true. You pursue them. Um, what is a positive thought? Can you think about a positive thought that you had to hack? Because it's like, okay, I can't go down that route. I have to slow down, because if I do, then it won't serve. It's not going to serve me.
Um, One of the things that I've learned to do, and is something I said, I say to myself, learning to fall backwards. You know, the one thing that we very, very scared of is falling in general.
Mhm,
But to learn to fall
mhm,
backwards, that means uh, it's not that you want somebody to be there to catch you, because that's what it is, because you can't depend on anybody else to be there at
mhm,
any specific time, because that's how life is.
mhm,
But when you learn to fall backwards, something happens. You learn to fly.
mhm,
And when you learn to fly, you're going to be falling backwards. You're going to be looking upwards. Again,
mhm.
looking up rather
Yeah.
than trying to look down. And then when you learn to fly, everything is possible.
Mhm,
Everything is possible. And so that's what it is. In those moments, you're learning to fall backwards. You know what? I am prepared to take this chance. It
mhm,
might hurt me, and then I'm going to lick my wounds and I'm going to get up. But I'm going to take this chance and I'm going to learn to flow backwards. And this is it, the, the ability to fall backwards, because you will learn to fly.
mhm. And the thing about falling backwards is that you can't see.
Yes,
You don't
yes,
know what's there. And it takes an act of faith. You have
faith.
to believe that this is gonna, what however this is gonna pan out, you'll deal with it. And
And the
go
yeah,
ahead.
and the word that you use is believe, but it's to believe in yourself.
Mhm,
Because that's what falling backward means. Believing in yourself in spite of everything, you have the power within you to fly.
yeah. So for some people, not everybody can so easily just at a click of
Mm.
a finger pivot and get back to, okay, I'm falling back and I'm flying. A lot of people struggle. They still have fear of fear. What is something that you can share with those listening to this podcast on how they can hack their thoughts when they are in a place, and they cannot believe? It's hard for them to believe.
There's nothing, never assume anything. Never assume anything. Always, always test it. And nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. And no one is truly free. I think these are the things that you have to remember. Never assume, nothing is perfect, and no one is free. I came up with three things that I found to do. And almost a kind of a spiritual thing, and body, soul, and the spirit, the way I look at it. And three things to do. First, from the body point of view, uh, rest your body. The first thing is that get enough sleep, take slow, deep breaths. And we've been talking about breathing throughout
Mhm,
this. It's so important to breathe
mhm,
because you learn to hear yourself breathe.
mhm,
And that's so important. When you hear yourself breathe, it changes your perspective. You change your concentrating from the problems to your breathing.
Mhm.
And soak in a hot bath, a warm bath. We
Yeah.
don't think about that, but it's so
Yeah.
important just to soak. And then the other thing is that from your soul point of view, get organized. Organize your world, your life. Start small with little things and eat healthily. Have a good diet. One or two fruit a day. It helps.
Mm,
Just start with the fruit. Forget
mm,
about all the other things and start with the fruit. Uh, Exercise regularly. Even if you just do press ups or you just, jump on the spot, it doesn't matter. And then from your spirit point of view, this is so important because we are the only species in the known universe that has the ability to create. We create purely for the sake of creating.
mm,
You know, Birds and other animals may build a beautiful nests and things like that because they build it to live in it, not thinking about it. And they cannot make plans and share it with their friends, or those who are coming after them. Yet we can. We create music, we create art, we create architecture, we create beauty, we create science. We have this ability to create, and because we are so unique.
mhm,
And we then write it down for those who are coming after us to read it. So surround yourself with beauty and art. This
mhm,
is so important. Surround
mm,
yourself. Even if you print a painting and put it up, or learn to paint, learn an instrument, listen to music. This is so important. Go
mm,
to the museums. Um, and then lastly, write down your thoughts. Write down your thoughts. Whether you want to write it in the journal or whether you want to write it and throw it away, it doesn't matter. Especially if somebody has hurt you. If somebody has hurt you, and there's no way, especially if they've gone on, they've passed on or something, and there's no way you can deal with it, or you just don't want to write your thoughts. We have an ocean. I live right near the ocean, and I can go to the ocean, and I can go, and you can speak to that person, and then you take that little thing and you drop a flower in the ocean and release them. And that's so important. You release them unless you physically release them. And that's one of the ways is just do that. You got something that's bugging you, write it down, speak it, tear it up, burn it, take in, take a flower, go to the water, the river, ocean, wherever, drop it in and release them and say, I let you go.
mhm.
I think that's one of the easiest and the best ways.
Yeah. This is unique. This conversation here is unique, because all our thoughts are somehow tied to our experiences, and our experiences are what people.
Yes,
Nobody, we don't live alone. We don't live in our
yes,
own an island. Every experience has to do with someone, and usually our negativity is tied, or negative thoughts
mm,
are always tied to some person,
yes,
someone that said or did something to me. So I like what you talk about, what you're saying, but just releasing people.
yes, you have to.
Mm. It's about forgiveness, whether you are right or you're expecting an apology, but being able to just forgive
Mm,
and let go,
yeah.
forgive and sets to
Yes,
create, to create.
yes,
Um, Yubi, I also love what you talked about, when you said never assume anything, nothing is perfect, and no one is free.
yeah.
That is true.
Mm,
We're not free because we are so tied in our thoughts to an incident or to a person or to something that happened to us that doesn't set us free. And
yes,
the only way we can be set free is by being able to hack those thoughts,
mm,
to hack those thoughts. Another thing when you talked about is nothing is perfect. And that's
yeah,
true. Being able to live and say, I'm living, I can live with imperfection. I'm okay with that. That is perfection.
Mm.
because that's
So
tough.
true.
That's tough. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, Yubi, besides getting a chance to have a conversation with you like this, and you and I, when we together, we have conversations like this all night long. You
Oh,
know that, right? But good to have you on the show and share it in a more formalized manner. So, just before we close, is there a quote or maybe two quotes that come to mind that you want to share with everyone?
this quote is my quote, and I came up with it, I think, when I was maybe about 14, 15 years old. And I remember writing it on my desk, and I got into trouble for writing onto my desk. And it's, nothing you will say will make me change my opinion of myself. And I think that's what I've lived with all my life.
Hmm. Say it again.
Nothing you will say will make me change my opinion of myself.
Hmm. Yeah. It's so you define who you are.
Yes.
You define who you are. We actually had an episode just about don't define me. I define myself.
Mm.
So that ties brilliantly with your quote. Um, so thank you so much for getting up early in the morning, jumping on
Uh,
the on here in the studio and having this conversation with me. I love you. I
I
love
love
you.
you too.
Yeah. So everybody, like I always end our shows. Your story is changing. You are the storyteller of your story. Your story are your thoughts. Your thoughts are your self-talk. Who you are becoming are your thoughts. What you tell your brain is what your brain remembers. And here's what really matters: who you are becoming is greater than who you were before this moment. So if you like what you're hearing, please go ahead and click like, drop your thoughts in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And next week, we have another exciting guest who's going to share how they hack their thoughts. Remember, powerful declarations are inside of you, waiting to be manifested. See you next week for another great episode. Take care.